Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. Welcome to the Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. And Chet, the Sixers are ready to open the playoffs Saturday afternoon against the Brooklyn Nets, healthy and ready with high expectations. The Phillies started the season 1-5 before now going 3-3 after just losing this afternoon since coming back to Citizens Bank Park. The Flyers season is down to one game tomorrow night to end their season. They're not very good. They've lost 7 of their last 8. All's quiet on the Eagles front for now, but there's still plenty to talk about.
Yeah, lots to talk about regarding the Phillies' less than stellar start to the season, Bill. Some of their base running mistakes have been little leaguish. We're just a couple of weeks away from the NFL draft, Bill. And yeah, the Sixers get top billing on this week's show because they're just a few days from tipping off their postseason.
Absolutely. And we've got a great guest tonight to cover it all. We can talk all things Sixers, and we might even fit in a little Eagles talk because we know that our guest, Keith Pompey, is such a huge Eagles fan.
He's laughing at that. Yeah, maybe Eagles or New York Giants football talk. You never know with Keith. He does a great job, though, covering the Sixers, Bill, and he does that for the Inquirer. So let's focus on that, at least for the start, as we bring him on.
All right, let's get to it. Let's welcome Keith Pompey back to Philly Pressbox Radio. Keith, welcome.
Hey, what's up, fellas? Thanks for having me on.
As always.
Hey, Keith, I love this time of year, early in the baseball season and the start of the NBA and NHL playoffs. The Sixers last weekend wrapped up what was by and large a very successful season, 54 wins. That's the most since 2001. Joel Embiid, a second straight scoring title. We think an MVP trophy coming his way. James Harden averaged 21 and 10. How would you assess this Sixers regular season, Keith?
You know, it was a success. I mean, when you think about it, think about it. Like they started off, they were 0-3, and they at one point they were 12-12, and fortunately for them, that the Eagles were so great. Did I just say that? But fortunately for them,
I heard that.
the
I
Eagles
have the
were
record button on too.
I love it.
The Eagles were so great that like no one really noticed. I mean, they noticed, but they weren't complaining. So when you look at it, the Sixers, after that 12-12 start, for 2 months, they were the hottest team in the NBA. So with that being said, you have to say that this season is a success. 54 wins, the most since 2001. So you have to say it was a success.
Keith, do you think this team is as good as they appeared to be? It almost was like they were on cruise control for a good portion of the season.
You know what? Then we're about to find out, right? I mean, that's the thing, because as great as this season was, this is when it really matters now in the playoffs. It's all that matters. You know what? I think they can be. The thing that gets me is, you talked about Joel Embiid. He's playing great. James Harden, I think that he is the key. If James Harden continues to remain healthy, if he gets over that Achilles thing, and if he continues to be the facilitator, I think the 76ers are as good as we think they are. Now, if James wants to be the James Harden of old and is doing all these step back threes, then no, not at all. They're not gonna go far in the playoffs.
I admit it, I still often question just how good a coach Glenn Doc Rivers is when it comes to the rotation, closing out games, etc. Am I wrong to do that, Keith?
No, you're not. I mean, it's weird because, it's funny because I'm working on the story on Glenn Doc Rivers. He's kind of like an enigma in a way. Like he's a guy who, is going to go down as one of the all-time greatest coaches, a guy who's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. But when he's in your market and you're a fan of his team and you study stuff closely, is always, well, what happened with this rotation? How come he didn't call a timeout now? Like, how come he's not playing a younger guy? So, no, I don't think you are. I just think you're wrong for that. I think that, these are questions that have to be answered. And also, let's be real. The last time that he's made it to the conference finals was when he was with the Boston Celtics. And that was, years ago. So I think that, it's logical to question him right about now.
Yeah. What do you think going into the playoffs, Keith? We've talked about this throughout the season. Chet and I have. Joel can score 40 or 50 probably any night that he wants to. But the team is better when he's scoring 30 and two other guys are scoring 20 or three other guys are scoring 20. Do they need to spread it out, or are we going to see a whole lot of the Joel Embiid show?
They need to spread it out. It's funny. I think that, there comes certain times when he starts pressing and it's a close game, and then all of a sudden we don't see that ball movement the way it is. But it's one of those bizarre things where they always, after they lose, they always lose the same way. There's lack of ball movement. Is Joel with a bunch of points and Tobias with none, things like that. But they always have the right answers after the game that, hey, we'll get it right. We know what we need to do. So you are correct. I think that in order for them to win these games, and they know it, especially in the first series, I think we are going to see a lot of ball movement. I do. I think we'll see a lot for that one. But when they go up against Boston, if they get there, I believe that we're going to see Joel being extremely ball dominant, so to speak.
I want to ask you about the depth of the Sixers. House, Melton, B-Ball Paul, Shake Milton, George Niang. A lot of names. Sometimes they're pretty good. Other times they're not. Am I right? They're very inconsistent, those guys?
Extremely inconsistent, to a point where when you look at it, there's only three guys that I see who are probably at this particular time are going to be consistent rotation players. And one of them is DeAnthony Melton. The other one is Jalen McDaniels, a guy who, wasn't even mentioned. And then I think that you're going to see George Niang in there in the beginning. But the problem is, they talk about two-way players and that they got most of them. Well, these two guys I just mentioned are, but then George Niang, he struggles mightily on the defensive end. He tries, but he struggles. So I feel like that could be a problem, and you may not see him, and then they have to throw someone else in there.
And as we bend down and you get deeper into the playoffs, that's certainly not going to help you down the stretch. You got to have more contributions.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You need a lot more contributions. Now, also, the one thing that's the saving grace that may help them is that they're going to try to reduce their rotation, as the further they advance in the playoffs. But at the same time, I think the problem with the 76ers is outside those two guys that we talked about, when you look at their bench players, now you do have B-Ball Paul Reed, who's aggressive. But outside of those two and maybe Paul a little bit, the rest of them are like specialists. Like Shake Milton could come in and get you buckets, but he's not going to lock down anybody. George Niang gives up as many points as he scores. Daniel House Jr. is extremely inconsistent. So, that's where the problem lies with the 76ers. They just don't have a lot of guys that they can depend on to give you consistent minutes, like Chet said, with this bench.
So we finally have the schedule. We knew they were going to play game 1 on Saturday. They played game 2 on Monday. Then they're on the road, but not till the following Thursday for game 3. What do you know about? Well, you know them very well. The Brooklyn Nets. They're certainly not the same Nets team that we thought we were going to see when the season started. Are they going to be any match at all for the Sixers? 5 games tops, right?
It could be, yeah. I mean, it could be 5, it could be 6. See, here's the thing that gets me with this team. This team on paper, you look at it and you say no KD, no Kevin Durant. No Kevin Durant, no Kyrie. Ben Simmons isn't doing anything. He lost his position. You laugh at this team, right? But then when you look at it, this is a team that when they played the 76ers, not on Sunday, but the third time that they played them, that was Mikal Bridges' first game, Cam Johnson's first game, and it was like the two other guys that they just traded for their second game, and they should have defeated the Sixers, right? So when I look at it, I look at this team as having a good chance of still in game one. And the reason why I say that is they know how to scout the Sixers. I don't think the Sixers really know how to scout these teams. Now, again, this is the NBA. You have a scouting department. You do everything. But I feel like real time on the floor, you can't you can't duplicate that. So I feel like that the Sixers may take them a game or two to figure this squad out. And with that being said, the Sixers could possibly lose a game early on. I look at this team, and I'm sorry for being long-winded, but you have Mikal Bridges. You have a bunch of 6'7", 6'8" guys who can switch and change different positions. And you have 6 or 7 guys who are legitimate three-point shooters. And when we look at the Sixers, as good as they are, they struggle in perimeter defense. So I feel like they will win because they have Joel Embiid, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lost game one.
And you wrote a great piece today that you shared with us today. I guess that hit the papers sometime today on talking a lot about this. And you also mentioned that this should be an easy Sixers win series. Does overconfidence come into play at this point? I mean, on paper, this is a win series, but there's reality.
Oh, yeah. Overconfidence comes in a lot because you look at it, and it's easy to get overconfident because, you look at Joel Embiid, you look at his size, you look at his height, everything, MVP, I'm saying he's going to win it, right? So you look at him and then you compare him to Nick Claxton. Now, Nick Claxton is one of the league's best rim protectors, but you like Joel's going to destroy that guy. You look at James Harden, Tobias Harris, all these guys, Tyrese Maxey. You're saying like there's no way in heck this team can compete with them. And we forget 2 years ago not 2 years ago, but when they had Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick and all them, it was the same thing when they played the Brooklyn Nets. They all thought that they were going to destroy the Brooklyn Nets because the Sixers beat up on them all year. And what happened? They lost game one because they were overconfident. And then they woke up and then they smacked them. They smashed them the other games. But yeah, overconfidence can we can talk to her blue in the face that this team is good, but they're looking at them like, no, it's not KD and it's not Kyrie.
Well, we're going to assume they're going to beat the Nets, whether it's 4 or 5 or 6 games, and then it will almost certainly be the Celtics in round 2. Why do the Sixers seem to not match up very well at all with the Celtics?
It's weird. I think that when you look at the Celtics have, when you look at the Sixers in general, they tend to struggle against opposing perimeter players who can create their own shot, can score a lot of points, right? And then when you look at the Celtics, who are their 2 best players? 2 opposing perimeter players who can create their own shot. And that's probably, they don't get a lot of credit, but that's probably the best guard small forward tandem in the NBA right now, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So that's it. But not only that, they have a couple of other guys like Al Horford's a pretty good defender. Robert Williams III is a great defender. And then you got a guy like Malcolm Brogdon coming off the bench. And the one thing I will say about the 76ers is that the thing that they don't do well at, and I said this before, is perimeter defense. And what happens is Boston has a habit of bringing the big out and having them shoot threes from the perimeter. And the Sixers act like they never seen that before. They don't even go out there and guard them and defend it. So that's partly why they're such a bad matchup. And then another thing they do, since they're so athletic, we're used to seeing Tyrese Maxey running circles around people. Well, it seems like these guys, they kind of know how to shadow him, make sure he doesn't get in his spots. So they take him out of his game and they take advantage of Joel staying in the paint, and they just hit a bunch of threes.
Hey, Keith, I'm going to toss this up. We have a question that came up here. Who does Keith like coming out of the West?
You know, that's a great question, because I think the West is wide open. And, you know, I'm just saying this right now. I know that a lot of people are looking at the Golden State Warriors, and they're saying like they're the number 6 seed. But when I look at it, I think that the Golden State Warriors, if healthy, they have a legitimate chance. Now, again, they do struggle on the road, but I think they have a legitimate chance. And the reason being is, you know, they're going to play Sacramento. And then after that, I think, you know, they'll play the winner of, you know, the Grizzlies and the Lakers, right? So I feel like that they can go to the conference finals, and once they get there, they're going to be fine.
Well, Keith, I really hope that I think we just lost Keith.
No, I think he's on, but we can't see him, but I think we can hear him.
Keith, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We hear you.
We just can't see you.
You just disappeared from our screen. Anyway, I really hope this isn't something that we do have to deal with. But if the Sixers do suffer yet another second-round defeat, does Doc Rivers come back, and will James Harden perhaps go somewhere else?
You know, I think if they do suffer another second-round defeat, I do think that, you know, Doc Rivers probably would be gone. You know, I think that probably going to be, you know, it's one of those things where somebody has to be the fall guy, right? And it's typically the coach. The thing about Harden, I don't really know, man. I like, you know, you hear, like, sometimes I'm thinking that he's just saying that because he wants to make sure that they're going to pay him. But at the same time, it's kind of like if they do go out in the second round, they're getting older. Guys are going to want to leave. Joel might get a little frustrated saying, where are we going? What are we doing? You know, I don't know if Tobias will be here long term. So that could have Harden leaving out the door. But
now we lost him.
Boy, and I didn't get to ask him about Ben Simmons or the New York Football Giants yet. Keith, if you can, come on back. We still have a few minutes that we can allocate to you. In the meantime, Bill, I just want to say something else while I can take this minute. We got some great response to our show last week, Bill, and we had Judy Arnold on, and boy, we had so many people who watched the full show or the interview that I posted separately with Judy. And if you're interested in her book, I know a lot of people are going to buy it just from having seen her on our show. Go to her website, judyarnoldskater.com. $25. She'll even autograph it for you and send it out. So it's a good read. Judy Arnold, Roller Derby Hall of Famer, and Philly Pressbox Radio Hall of Famer. She was really excited about the fact that she's in our Philly Pressbox Radio Hall of Fame, Bill. She emailed Neil about that. So how about that?
Oh, no. Did she didn't get her plaque or anything?
No plaque. She asked if there was like a display, or if I said, no, we're not that rich or fancy, but I showed her the list of all our inductees and told her she's in some pretty good company.
Fantastic. Well, it was great. And I think the people liked it, like you said, and it was fun listening to Judy. Hey, while we're waiting on Keith, hopefully he's going to try to come back with us. Something I wanted to throw in too. We have a happy birthday yesterday that we need to throw out there to our good pal, Kevin Riley. Kevin Riley's birthday yesterday. So happy birthday, Kevin. I'm sure we'll have him back on with us before long. He's a regular.
Yeah, he is. Regarding the Sixers, Bill, I'm looking forward to this series with the Nets because that's going to get them, you know, hopefully geared up for the second round against the Celtics. I'm hoping it doesn't go any more than 5 games. Keep everybody healthy and rested. Embiid's looking great right now. As we said, he's probably going to win the MVP. Harden had a great year, 21 points a game, 10 rebounds. So, man, that's a great duo, and I think they can do some damage. I think that Sixers-Celtics series that is almost a definite for round 2. I think that's going to be a great one. I'm just a little scared. You better be a
little careful with all that definite stuff. Got to win the games. It's a new season. Everybody's 0-0 at this point. Got to win the games, you know, and I sure hope they can do it. But it's not going to be easy. And by the way, I mentioned the article that Keith sent us today. I assume it was in the Inquirer.com. Check it out because it's really good. He did a real nice job with it. talking about the overconfidence and talking about the different players that's the Sixers didn't see before, except for in that game 3, as he mentioned, where they were all brand new and should have won that game. So it's a real nice piece. Check it out and give Keith a look.
Yeah, Keith does a great job. I did want to ask him about Ben Simmons, though. As you know, Simmons is shut down now for the year yet again. He only played 40 games.
He should get locked. He should get locked up. Here's Keith.
Hey Keith, let's bring you back on and ask you
about.
Go.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Ben Simmons. I don't know. What is the future now for Ben Simmons? Is he even going to be in the league anymore after this year?
Man, that's a great question, a tough question. I think Ben Simmons' back is bothering him more than people thought, right? Because when you look at it, Ben Simmons is a guy who basically can't shoot, he can't do all these other things, but what he was able to do was get up and down the floor, right? He can't do that like he used to. So I feel like the fact that if his back is continue to bother him, he'll play for somebody, but I don't know if he'll, continue to be on the, superstar. He'll be more of a role player. And to be honest with you, I think it's a sad situation because of the way it all went down. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a guy fall from grace so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't. But if his back, if his back doesn't get back in shape or whatever, he doesn't get it healed. I think the Ben Simmons that we saw and we used to see in Philly, we're not going to see that anymore.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, Keith, about James Harden again. Are you surprised at the season he had? I mean, he's had a great season. Did we think he was much further down the road than what he showed this year?
I think James Harden is extremely smart. That's what I'm going to say. Because if you notice, whenever James Harden tried to play the way he was playing last year or trying the way he played before, he struggled. I think that James is like he basically reinvented himself to where now, don't granted, he's in better shape, but he reinvented himself to where he could be more of the facilitator and feed Joel Embiid, because 4.8 of his assists go to Embiid. So that's heavy dosage, right? So I feel like James was smart enough to know that he had to switch up and be a different style, play a different style of basketball to continue his stretch of being an elite player seasons.
All right, Keith, I got to ask you, how far do the Sixers go in the postseason? You know I had to ask you that question.
I think they get bounced in the second round. I do. I mean, Doc and them are confident and everything, but I don't know, man. I look at the Boston Celtics and I look at the Milwaukee Bucks, and we're talking about the 76ers bench where we only have like two guys that we say are two-way players and can be consistent. I just don't know if I could see them beating the Boston Celtics in the second round.
And if that were to happen, Keith, we said about Glenn Rivers probably gone. Do you blow the whole thing up?
I think long and hard about it. I would, because we think about it. This will be 10 years for 10 years since the process started, right? This will be the 10th season. And the reason why they started the process was to get out of the second round. Yes, they had regular season success. However, you got James Harden, you got Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, all these guys getting paid. You got Doc Rivers getting paid, Daryl Morey getting paid, and you still only got to the second round. So I think something has to change.
Anything else, Bill?
You got Chet just shaking his head over there, Keith. Well, hey, we can't let Keith go without talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Super Bowl. And what in the world is going on with those little New York football giants up there?
Hey, I wish I could halfway throw a ball. I would get paid too. Nah, I don't know. Danny, I don't know. I didn't really understand it. But at the same time, when you look at it, you say to yourself, how many quality quarterbacks are there in the NFL, right? So if you get one, you may have to overpay him a little bit to keep him. But I just hope for him and for me that he can continue to progress as opposed to just having one okay year to where he got a payday.
Did I see today that Saquon says he's not signing the franchise tag and
That's
he's not
what I was
going
just
to
say.
Yeah. That's kind of
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I know, because if I had to do it, if I was to do it over again, I would tell the quarterback like, "Yo, man, bye," and we're gonna pay Saquon.
Yeah. All right. Well, Keith, before we let you go, you got something, Chet?
No, I'm good. Let Keith go for the night.
All right, Keith. Before we let you go, though, let everybody know where they can follow you on your social media and everything you got going on.
Yeah, you can follow me on social media on Twitter and Instagram at Pompey on Sixers. You can also follow me on Inquirer.com. That's where you could follow my you can read my articles, and you can also pick up a Philadelphia Inquirer if you like. But yeah, Pompey on Sixers and Inquirer.com.
And this is what Keith looked like before he had that big gray beard. Look at that.
Yeah, my wife wished I looked like that now. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, babe,
I like it. All right, Keith.
All right, Keith. We appreciate it. Let's get back together again.
Thanks for having me, y'all. Go Giants. Peace.
All right, Jet. Spring is here. It's time for you to save some money at Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance.
Of course, Bill. Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance puts you in control. You only pay for the miles you drive with the same full coverage that a traditional policy offers. Pay-per-mile insurance gives customers greater control of their insurance costs. See how much you can save with pay-per-mile car insurance by calling your local agent. In Westchester, Pennsylvania, that is Dave Lavoie. Call Dave at 610-430-0700. Once again, 610-430-0700. And start to save more now that you are driving less.
All right. Anything new going on over at the Irish Rover Station House while we're out and about?
Oh, there's always something good there, Bill. The Irish Rover has on Wednesday nights Quizzo. In fact, that's going on right now for people who aren't watching and listening to our show. Quizzo every Wednesday night. And then this weekend, live music. In fact, they have live music most Saturday nights. This weekend, that music is courtesy Eddie Tamanini. Oh, the Rover has something going on this Thursday evening also in connection with the folks at Yards Brewery. It's for anyone who plays Bit Viper. I have no idea what that is, but see the details here on the screen. Bit Viper is also a Yards Hazy Thursday or Hazy IPA. Beyond that, I know nothing about the Bit Viper thing, but a rep from Yards will be there Thursday evening from 6 to 9 p.m. to explain everything. The Irish Rover always has 24 beers on tap. I know that. Great dinner specials Thursday through Sunday. The Irish Rover Station House is on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne, and you can get more details at their website, irishroverstationhouse.com.
It's me, Jackie Bam Bam from 93.3 WMMR, Philly Pressbox Radio. Chet, Bill, what are you doing? It's me, Jackie Bam Bam. Hey, Chet, Bill, I love you. All the best. Bye.
I just love that.
That
Jackie Bam Bam I mentioned because they just announced this week the Barbecue. It's not in May this year. It'll be in September 16th. A lot of great bands on the bill, including Shinedown and one of my personal favorites, Larkin Poe, plus a whole bunch of others. 6 bands on the bill. Dirty Honey, another one of my favorites.
So they're throwing a birthday party for me.
Oh, yeah. September 16th, right around your birthday, huh?
Exactly on my birthday.
That is your birthday.
Yes, sir.
It's a Saturday this year, Bill.
There you go.
You can party.
All right. Hey, on to something else. The Phillies started the season 1-5. They came back to Citizens Bank Park. Thought we'd get a little bit of home cooking. They win 2 out of 3. They turn around and lose 2 out of 3 to the Marlins after losing again today. I was going to say the bats are heating up. The pitching's been inconsistent. But you know what? I'm going to go with they've been inconsistent.
Very much. And you knew when they scored 15 runs the other night that they were going to follow that up with like a couple of games like they did where they scored 2 or 3 runs. It happens all the time. So, yeah, they should have saved some of those hits and runs. But they have been inconsistent. They've been sloppy running the bases. I think 8 guys thrown out on the base paths already in 12 games. And that's not even, any stolen base things. It's just bad base running in most cases. So, yeah, that's got to improve. The pitching's got to improve. Aaron Nola has an ERA over 7 still in 3 starts. Don't ever tell me Nola's an ace, Bill. He's not.
Yeah, well, somebody wants to get paid to be an ace, so we'll have to see how that goes. Zach Wheeler, great today, and they still can't get a win. Chet, have I mentioned to you how much I hate that 10th inning rule? Kind of almost like the shootout.
Today. Yeah, what do you hate more, the shootout or the zombie
both?
runner?
They're both. They're just both ridiculous. And you know, the shootout hasn't grown on me any, and I don't expect that the phantom runner or whatever the heck it was or is going to grow on me anytime soon either.
Well, the Marlins took advantage of it. They scored their guy from second. The Phillies did not. Oh well. So, and now they go on the road.
You know, the thing that's kind of crazy about the Phillies is, you know, Bryson Stott is on fire. Yeah. Turner's on fire. Castellanos is hitting. Marsh is hitting. But then you have Real Muto, who isn't hitting anything. You know, they're so up and down in the lineup. Bohm is hitting pretty well, but they're not putting enough together to score, you know, more than 2 runs again today.
I believe over the last 2 games, Bill, 3 for 22 with runners in scoring position. That's a big reason. You know, you get guys on base, you got to bring some of them home. 3 for 22 ain't gonna cut it.
That'll get you beat. How do you know, now that we've had a couple weeks to watch the pitch clock thing, I know you like it. It's changed the game for sure, I think, and the base running is definitely different with what's going on, whether it's pitch clock related or how. And I think the shift has definitely changed the game a bit already, as we've seen in the first handful of games.
You know how I feel about the pitch clock. I love it. The statistics through the first week and a half of the season, it has shaved 31 minutes off of the average game compared to last year at the same point in the season. So down to 2 hours, 38 minutes from 3:09 last year after the first 11 days. The shift has helped get the batting averages up. The batting average up something like 16 points from a year ago at the same time. So you're seeing some more hitting, but at the same time, a faster game because, you know, even though Aaron Nola and some other pitchers may not like it, it has sped up the game. I think it makes it, you know, more exciting because a lot of people find baseball boring. I know some people hate it. I know, we're seeing the messages. I love it.
Well, I can tell you, Chet, when I go to the ball game, I go to a ball game. I don't want to go to a 2-hour movie. I want to go to the ball game, and you know, why rush through it?
Well, my time is valuable, Bill, and I'd rather see a 2-hour, 38-minute game than a 3-hour, 9-minute game. Okay, that's just me. I got a lot going on.
So now we have to get to the thing that you probably really like is that they've decided now they're going to serve beer into the 8th inning instead of the 7th inning, so you could get in your car after 15 minutes after you've drank your last beer. You good with that as a guy that goes to games and drives to and from?
They haven't announced that in Philly, I don't believe, as of yet. I think 4 ballparks have extended it now through the 8th inning. Several others are considering it because, you know, they're losing some sales, obviously, because you stop it after 7 innings and you're only 2 hours into a game or whatever. You're going to lose some of the sales that you had a year ago at this time. So, yeah, they're more concerned about money than people's health and safety, obviously. But does that surprise anybody?
Well, it doesn't surprise me for a second, but they did say the reason years ago when they put in the 7th inning beer sale shortage or shutdown was for people's safety, for fans' safety, to stop drinking, have a little bit of time before they get in their car or someone hits them or whatever. It was about fan safety. Now, because the game's shorter, heck with the fan safety, let's sell beer.
And by the way, I'm not a big ballpark beer drinker. I tailgate before the game, bring my beers from home, drink a bunch before the game. Occasionally, I will buy one, $12 or $15 beer at the ballpark, but that's it.
I'm with you. We'll see some more of that when the Phillies announced that they're going to do the same thing. So
yeah, wouldn't surprise me if they did.
Well, hey, speaking of tailgating before the game, opening day's behind us with the big event for Cavs Phillies tailgates. What's up for Cavs Philly Tailgates crew next, Chet?
Well, let me tell you about Cavs. Bob Kavanaugh and company at Cavs Philly Tailgates. They've been cooking up a terrific catering business now for more than 30 years. They're known best for their tailgate parties, and I can attest, I've been to several of them, enjoyed their delicious food on 4 or 5 occasions now. Cavs is a 3-time winner of Jack Daniel's Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. They've even been featured on the Food Network. The next one for them, well, it is a tailgate before the May 6th Red Sox-Phillies game at Citizens Bank Park. But if you want to use them for other things, well, they also do corporate events, graduation parties, you name it. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go. If you need more info, email them at cavscatering@verizon.net or check the website, phillytailgates.com. And as it turns out, Bob Kavanaugh does most of the catering, if not all of it, for Philly sports trips. And Vince and company there have some amazing trips planned for the spring and summer. This is just a partial list. The Yankee trip happened already, but they're going to the NFL draft in a couple of weeks in Kansas City. You can go out to Denver for the Phillies and or the Union in mid-May. You can go to London and Leeds to see the Union at the end of May. And if you have never been to Wrigley Field, this is a great opportunity. The end of July, they'll be out there at Wrigley for a Phil's Cubs weekend. So that'll be fun. Get all the details there, phillysportstrips.com.
Very good. Well, hey, Chet, we have to talk Flyers. The season is limping to the finish line. They've lost 7 of their last 8. They did get a win last night in their final home game. They finish up tomorrow night in Chicago. John Tortorella stated all along this was going to take time. Does the Philly fan base have time for this?
Well, no. You know how Philly fans are with all the sports, very impatient. So that's why they're kind of at a low point now. This entire franchise interest is low. I think they had a decent crowd last night for the final home game of the year. They did a little Ed Snyder tribute as well on the anniversary of his death. But no, it's going to be a tough sell for the Flyers over the next year or two. Looks like they're very happy, though, with John Tortorella, so he's going to be sticking around. But, boy, I don't know where they're going from here. You know there's going to be a lot of changes over the offseason. I don't know what the roster is going to look like come September.
Yeah, well, they gave out their season awards last night, and Carter Hart pretty much swept through most of the big awards. His record is just about 500 as a goalie this year. He's kept them in a ton of games. Some they managed to win, some they didn't. I guess the big question for me is going to be, do you move a guy like him that's probably the most valuable guy that you have to try to build, or do you try to build around Carter Hart?
It depends how soon they think they can, turn things around, because he's obviously a talented guy. They do have some young talent. Owen Tippett had a nice game last night. So they have some talent there. I think they like Sanheim also on defense. I don't know. They're going to have some serious discussions with Tortorella and, management about where to go, what to do this offseason. But I don't have the answers, Bill. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see, because Travis Konechny and Tippett, both 25-plus goals. Tippett they got in that Claude Giroux trade. Sanheim they locked into like a 6-year contract that just starts at the end of this season. I think it just starts next year, so they're kind of locked into him. But they got a long way to go, and I don't know the Philly fans have the patience for too much more of this.
Hey, you just mentioned this guy. We should probably congratulate the former Flyer, Claude Giroux, on the milestone he reached the other night. Now with the Senators, he scored his 1,000th career point. Giroux did. He's had a real good season also, 77 points. Giroux, the 96th player in NHL history to hit that milestone. And as it turns out, number 95 on the list, Bill, is another former Flyer. That would be Brian Propp. So congrats to Giroux.
Yeah, and for Giroux, he got his 1,000th point and then turned around and got his 1,001 with the game-winning goal, his 34th of the season. So great season for Claude, and no reason to think that he's going to slow down. He's 35, 36 years old and having one of his finer seasons. So we will see.
Hey, Bill, as I mentioned, Drew is 96th on the list of NHL scorers. Let me ask you something. Wayne Gretzky, far and away the leader with some 2,800 points. Do you know who is second on the list in total NHL regular season points?
Well, goals is Ovechkin.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not talking goals. I'm talking points.
Is it not Mario Lemieux?
Nope. I have the top 4 written down right here. In fact, I have the full top 15. But this shocked me. You want to hear it?
Go ahead.
Jaromir Jagr, who played a long time.
1,921
points. Third on the list, not Gordie Howe, who I would have thought. It's Mark Messier, who also played a long time, 1887. Gordie Howe is fourth on the list with 1850. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, I thought I did actually know about Jagr because I had forgotten because he just moved up on that list, I think. And I don't know if they are still counting his Czechoslovakian points. He's still playing. He's 51 years old or something. He's still playing over there.
Yeah, 50 something. Man, I'm trying to find that list. Let me see if I can dig it up because I was really surprised at some of the names on the list. Some guys I totally forgot about.
And they're all good.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, you got to play a long time, but you also have to be pretty darn good.
Yep.
NHL points leaders. Here we go. Fire this thing up. Here it comes, Bill. There you go. Gretzky, Jagr, Messier, Gordie Howe, Ron Francis in fifth place. He played a long time, but boy, that's not a name you think of as a NHL superstar.
Yeah. How about Mark Recchi at 13? He had a heck of a career.
Yeah, played a long time, Flyers and Penguins.
Yeah.
Paul Coffey, Ray Bourque, couple of defensemen on there. Phil Esposito at number 10. I loved Espo.
Very good.
All right, that's all.
All right, good stuff. Let's jump over and give a shout out to all our shows at the Edge of Philly Sports Network this week. The Sixers playoffs, the Phillies, the Stanley Cup playoffs, a whole lot more going on. You can catch all the action at www.eopsports.com as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can also find our show on the Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel. Help us out by hitting those like, follow, subscribe buttons, and as always, share with your family and friends. As you can see from the list, we've got some lacrosse in there. We've got union, soccer. We got a little bit of everything each week at the Edge of Philly Sports Network.
You know, Bill, that Flyers talk got me depressed. So I need to squeeze in a little Random Chet segment that'll cheer me up and hopefully some of our non-Flyer fans out there as well. And because music is something that always cheers me up, that's what I decided to go with for Random Chet this week. Here you go, Bill. The 1970s were really my formative years in terms of music, but I'll tell you, the early 80s were pretty memorable too. And 1983, 40 years ago, gave us a slew of terrific albums. There were debut albums from Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, Rat, REM, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Metallica, Kill 'Em All. Speaking of debuts, the Philly band The Hooters released an independent album called Amore, which had original versions of All You Zombies and Hanging on a Heartbeat on it. Kiss released an album with the band members not wearing their trademark makeup on the cover. First time for that. The title song, Lick It Up, was really, really good. The rest of it, not so great. All right, we got the albums Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics and Cuts Like a Knife by Bryan Adams. Eric Clapton released Money and Cigarettes. The New York punk rockers The Ramones dropped Subterranean Jungle. We got the album Reach the Beach by The Fix that had two solid hits on it, Saved by Zero and One Thing Leads to Another. There were new albums from Rick Springfield, Robert Palmer, Joe Walsh, Chicago, Jackson Browne, Rod Stewart, Men at Work, Journey, plus Stevie Nicks, Joan Jett, Bob Dylan, Paul Simon, Hall & Oates, and Culture Club. Oh, in the hard rock category, in addition to Metallica and Rat, those debuts that I mentioned, there was AC/DC's Flick of the Switch, Ozzy Osbourne's Bark at the Moon, and Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil. Plus, we got LPs from Triumph, Crocus, Quiet Riot, Rainbow, and the version of Black Sabbath that had Ian Gillan on lead vocals. Oh, there were new albums by both Styx and Duran Duran that had hit songs on it that I absolutely despised, I gotta be honest. Mr. Roboto by Styx and The Reflex by Duran Duran. Sorry, not a fan of either of those. Pink Floyd released its final studio album with Roger Waters on it, appropriately called The Final Cut. It was a bunch of leftover stuff from The Wall and other previously unreleased junk that probably could have stayed that way, unreleased. Let's get to my absolute favorite albums of 1983. First, a few honorable mentions. State of Confusion by the Kinks, which featured the hit Come Dancing. Billy Joel's An Innocent Man. Sports by Huey Lewis and the News, which had several hits on it. Talking Heads, Speaking in Tongues, which featured Burning Down the House. Billy Idol's Rebel Yell came out in 83. And hey, don't laugh, but Lionel Richie's Can't Slow Down. Well, lots of huge hits on there, like Hello, Stuck on You, and of course, the mega hit All Night Long. One more honorable mention that I almost forgot to mention, an underrated album by the Stones, Undercover, which had songs like Undercover of the Night and She Was Hot. Okay, without further ado, my top 10 favorite albums of the year 1983 in reverse order to, build up the suspense. At number 10, something of a comeback album by Yes, 90125, which had the monster hit Owner of a Lonely Heart on it. Number 9, I mentioned this one earlier, the debut album by Cyndi Lauper, She's So Unusual, which had the great tunes Girls Just Want to Have Fun and Time After Time. The Hooters' Eric Bazillion and Rob Hyman, who wrote Time After Time, part of her backing band for that great LP. At number 8, a self-titled album by Genesis that included hits like That's All and Taking It All Too Hard. Now, at number 7, a lot of people would probably have this one higher than where I have it, 7th. War by U2, which had the great songs like Sunday, Bloody Sunday, and New Year's Day on it. Okay, 6th, the final studio album by The Police, Synchronicity. The first 3 songs on side 2 being Every Breath You Take, King of Pain, and Wrapped Around Your Finger. Pretty darn great. Okay, my top 5 from 83. Well, the late, great Ronnie James Dio formed the band Dio and released the terrific album Holy Diver in 83. It featured the hard rock classics Rainbow in the Dark and the title song. Just a terrific album. My number 4 album from that year, out 40 years ago this week, by the way, this one from David Bowie, Let's Dance. It sparked a terrific tour, the Serious Moonlight Tour. This album included Modern Love, China Girl, and the title song, Let's Dance. Coming in at number 3, a great one from John Mellencamp. On this one, well, Pink Houses and the Authority song, Say No More. Number 2 has to be my favorite ZZ Top album, so darn good. This one, Eliminator. Songs like Give Me All Your Lovin', Sharp Dressed Man, Under Pressure, and of course, Legs, all on this one album. What a great album by that little old band from Texas. And at number 1, drum roll, please. Yeah, Def Leppard's Pyromania, their 3rd studio album. And, oh man, it just had a bunch of classic rock staples on it, like Foolin', Rock of Ages, and Photograph. All still sound great all these years later. Yeah, 40 years later, memories of a great year, 1983. And we still get lots of listening pleasure from all of those albums. What do you think, Bill?
Very good. Brought back a lot of memories. Let me get my note off of there. There you go.
Any of those do anything for you, Bill?
Yeah, they're good. A lot of them. A lot of memories. And those 1983, I was doing a lot of traveling around the country, so I didn't sit and listen to a whole lot of music anymore. I was out making a living.
I knew Robbie Ellis would like my number 1 choice. Robbie's a big Def Leppard fan.
Yep, good stuff. Well, hey, speaking of good stuff, great guest tonight at KEITH Pompey. So who is coming to Philly Pressbox Radio next week? We talking more Sixers?
Well, Bill, we're hoping the Phillies will be in a little better shape by this time next week. Whether or not that's the case, we're going to talk plenty of baseball with a Hall of Fame baseball writer who has covered the sport for several decades. The great Paul Hagen will join us live next week. Also, Bill, just added, next week we have a second guest. It's this guy, Lou Nolan, 50-plus years behind the PA mic for the Flyers. Lou Nolan's going to, put a ribbon on this not-so-great Flyers season and maybe figure out where they're going to go from here. So we have a couple of legends next week, Paul Hagen and Lou Nolan on the show, Bill.
Hall of Famers everywhere. Hey, Robbie sent you a note, Chet.
Yeah, see, she likes it. It was number one.
There you go. There you go. All right. What else you have going on before we get to our Raz room?
Eagles haven't done a whole lot lately, but there's still a lot of talk about what they're going to do in the upcoming draft. Will they stay at number 10 and number 30? I doubt it. You know that Howie likes to make moves. I don't know if he's going to move up, move down, move both of those picks somewhere, but he's not staying at 10 and 30. I'll tell you that.
I think he's going to trade them both. He's going to trade them both unless we get the Carter falls down to number 10, which I don't see happening. He will take Carter. But otherwise, I think there's a real good chance he's almost certainly going to trade out of 10 unless there's something going on that he wants to move up for.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure exactly who that would be that he would maybe trade both number ones for. Will Anderson, Carter, maybe, or how far do you have to move up to get them?
Hearing a lot of Will Anderson talk, but they would have to move up to get him. So going to be interesting, and we'll see how many quarterbacks get taken in the first 9 picks as well, because that would help the Eagles too. So
first three of the first four are going to take quarterbacks. So I think we pretty well know that. And that fourth guy going to go to Arizona could be that Will Anderson. So he could be off the board real early as well. So
Bill, I posted something on Facebook today, and I think we have to discuss this. It is National Grilled Cheese Day. And I took the picture of me eating a grilled cheese last night in preparation for this big day, but a lot of controversy about whether or not it's okay to put ketchup on a grilled cheese sandwich. I'm a fan of the ketchup, either putting it on there or dipping the cheese sandwich in ketchup. What say you?
I'm a grilled cheese and tomato guy.
That's good too. Yeah,
slices of tomato on my grilled cheese sandwich is tops. Love
now, if you put tomato and or bacon on there, you don't need the ketchup. But just cheese is not enough for me, so that's why I go with the ketchup. I know there's a lot of critics. A lot of critics out there.
We got 2 responses, and they ain't going your way, pal.
Well, I heard Joe Howe put scrapple in his grilled cheese.
Yeah, there's a good chance of that.
Yeah,
National Grilled Cheese Day. What other kind of crazy day? Oh, PJ knows. PJ knows.
Oh yeah. I'm okay with the tomato.
Yeah. What?
I usually don't have the tomatoes in the house though, so I can't. I just got to go with the grilled cheese.
All right. There was some other crazy day. Was it National Beer Day? There was something.
Well, last week was National New Beer's Eve on Thursday, followed by New Beer's Day on Friday, marking the 90th anniversary of the end of Prohibition. So I took advantage of that. Friday I was at the Phillies opener, and boy, I took a lot of advantage of the fact that it was National Beer Day during the Phillies home opener tailgating. No pickles, Joe.
Oh, whoops, Joe. There we go. There you go.
I know. A lot of ketchup haters out there.
I'm not a ketchup hater, but I wouldn't put it on my grilled cheese sandwich. That's all.
I do.
We're going tomatoes, pal. We're going tomatoes.
Deal with it, people. Deal with it.
All right. Hey, let's jump over and before we run out of time, take a quick break and thank our friends at the PPCC 118 Raz Room. They post great sports memorabilia on their Facebook page so people can take a chance of winning something they may not be able to afford or have access to. All items come with certificates of authenticity. They continue to run out great autographed memorabilia from all the Philly teams and more. Check out their Facebook page. Like it or follow it. It's PPCC 118 Raz Room. That's right, PPCC 118 Raz Room on Facebook.
Bill, I saw another movie over the weekend. Third straight sports or sports-related movie. This time it was Air. The story about the Air Jordans, Nike's successful effort to sign Michael Jordan to that 1984 sneaker deal that worked out pretty well for both Nike and Michael. Very well acted, interesting movie. Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and others, and Viola Davis as Michael Jordan's mom. Now, Michael Jordan himself was only in it, via some film clips, and there was an actor portraying him in one scene from the back. You saw his head in a meeting where they were making their pitch to him. And that worked out well the way they did that, because nobody's going to look exactly like Michael Jordan. And so it was really good the way that they did it. I recommend it. I give Air a solid B+.
B+. Okay. I was wondering if you saw that yet. One of my sons saw it, and he thought it was very good.
Yeah.
He thought it was a good movie, and it's probably not one that I will go see because that just doesn't do a whole lot for me. But I know how Michael Jordan made his money. They don't need to show me.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour movie about a sneaker deal, but it somehow works. Trust me.
Okay. So you'd rather go see that than the 2.5-hour ball or 3-hour ball game is what I think I heard you say.
Well, I try to squeeze them all in. That's why I don't like 3-hour movies. Believe me. I sat through Avatar, The Way of Water. It was like 3 hours and 12 minutes. That did not have to be that long. I won a pitch clock on Avatar.
Yeah, I hear you. Hey, speaking of ball games, Joe saw it. Let's throw this up. Joe Bonder saw it. Oh, Matt Davis.
Viola Davis. Very good.
Yeah. So I did want to throw out, since we run back to the Phillies for just a minute, who's the ace?
It's looking like Matt Strom at this point.
Matt Strom and Bailey Falter are your aces. What do you think? Who knew?
Go figure.
Yeah.
Go figure. At least Wheeler looked good today. Strom is going to have a bad outing or two, but he's looked really good in his first 2 starts. Bailey Falter is just one of those reliable guys who, you're okay putting him out there every 5th or 6th day. I'm okay with that. So Ranger Suarez, though, some good reports on him. He threw yesterday. He's going to throw a more extended session on Friday, and then hopefully a rehab session as early as next week. So hopefully Ranger Suarez will be back in the rotation by the end of April. And Bryce Harper ready to go as far as the hitting aspect. They just need clearance for him to be able to slide. I say just tell him don't slide. Hit home runs all the time.
Hey, you can get out on the bases. They've been doing it every night.
Exactly. He'll fit right in.
Hey, one final thing on the Phillies, Chet. Massive NL championship rings. Some people not cool about that. They've been giving out, call it runner-up, call it what you want, rings. Forever for winning your division. The 1980 NFC champion Eagles got rings. They've been doing it forever. You good with that? And wonder how much better they could have been if they'd actually won the World Series.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, you do have to present them. Yeah, it's a runner-up thing. It's not just like a participation trophy, though. It's you won your league, so I'm okay with it. But yeah, they were kind of bigger than you'd expect for a second place finish.
Yeah.
So.
No, and I'm good with them too. I mean, I think they might be a bit overdone. But the season, the whole Red October, that whole thing was so overdone, and because it was so cool. It was great, and they rewarded them for that, and I think it's cool, and I'm glad they got the rings. Maybe a little bigger than they should be, but pretty neat.
I got to go home and eat more grilled cheese, Bill, so wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. We'd like to thank tonight's special guest, KEITH Pompey, our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgates, PPCC 118 Ravs Room, and Dave Lavoie of Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll join Philly Pressbox Radio next Wednesday, April 19th at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook. Listen to our website, phillypressboxradio.com. on Google Podcasts, as well as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans, and let's go Sixers.
And we take you back to 1983 for this one, Bill.
To the spot you might be one, 'cause the Sixers have begun.